First, the science and medical community rely heavily on authority. Now, this truth has really become particularly pronounced in the 20th century as scientific progress and implementation really took off like it hadn't ever done before. Part of that takeoff was a result not only of globalization, but also the size of governments and the scale of war. Governments with large funds and huge amounts of power at their disposal, and both an excuse and a platform to test new discoveries, namely in war, it provided an opportunity and the ability to help advance science rapidly. With 2 world wars completing in 3 decades, and then entering into a Cold War arms race, science was glorified and scientists divinized. Add to this the amazing medical breakthroughs in various vaccinations, especially considering the eradication of polio, it seemed that both life and comfort were in the hands of the scientific and medical communities. Who could argue with those who held both life and death in their hands? The life of serums, vaccines, and cures divvied out in their benevolence, or the death of noxious gases, nuclear bombs, and precision-engineered machine guns wielded by governments as they meted out what they called justice. This brings us to our second point for the episode, which is that science not only stands on the idea of authority, but it also hides behind the idea of benevolence. Nobody wants to serve a malevolent God. Even those who serve a God who require that they sacrifice some of their children, they believe that their God is benevolent. This child-devouring God may eat a child here or there, but think of all the children and lives he saves by bringing rain or quelling the volcano's anger. What is one sacrificial child in the scheme of a whole community? It's a small price to pay to the gods. In fact, it's a merciful bargain, isn't it? This one life for many? Yet we moderns are too advanced to be fooled by such archaic and barbaric gods who would ask us to throw our children into volcanoes or to pierce the heart of our eldest son. How could one call such a god benevolent? Yet the God of science is no different than those barbaric gods. Like many of the gods of old, this benevolent God is really a malevolent one who asks us to make human sacrifices for the greater good all the time. And really, the God of science is far more malevolent in that he requires millions of sacrificial victims rather than just one. And the God of science is devious in hiding his horrors. Whereas the ancient priests of old may have been asked to sacrifice their own children to the gods, a sacrifice of great honor and value that didn't leave even the most powerful person in the community untouched. Science obscures its thirst for human blood by sacrificing those whose bodies can be easily hidden, the oppressed and the exploited. Science has long experimented on and mangled the bodies of prisoners hidden behind prison walls, the enslaved behind walls of oppression, the minorities behind the walls of the ghetto, and the foreigner behind the walls of policies, borders, and obscurity. Science has a thirst for blood, which if we knew how great it truly was, might appall us. Or I suppose it might not. Actually, it probably wouldn't, because we who worship science the most tend to be those who are most benefited by it.